Hello and peace, greetings, everyone. It is wonderful to meet all of you once again for the WomenOpreneur Global Visibility session. And together with me, we have Melissa Malaya Pandya today. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you for having me, Azeeza. It's a pleasure to be here.
We are so excited you're with us today. And Melissa has been in her space of intuitive life and manifestation work. She's a women empowerment activist. She's a coach and she's the founder of Mystic Sisters. And that's so exciting all the way from UK. Her work, she has been at it for 25 years. That's a long time. Today for our audience, Melissa, you are going to be spilling some secrets to us. And also it's a time out for women in entrepreneurship, in global conscious business coming together in this space. So we are so excited to hear from you today.
I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for having me. It's so exciting, and being female and being in business, it's one of the most amazing things to be doing.
That's right, and it's so wonderful that you are part of today's space. You showed up in my life a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just so happy that we are having this conversation right now. And tell us, Melissa, where are you from, and what do you love about where you are right now in your country?
Go ahead. So I was born in South Africa. South Africa has a very large Indian population. So my great grandfather was moved to South Africa when he was 4, and South Africa is in maybe 7th generation of Indians from India.
Wow.
So I grew up in South Africa, and I married my husband. He's from the UK. So that was the reason I moved here. But I just love South Africa. I love my roots, my heritage, and I love where I am right now because, you get to see a different part of the world, experience new things, and it's so exciting. It can be very challenging living an expat life in another country because one part of you feels like you belong to the friends, the infrastructure you built in the place that you grew up. And then you are now rebuilding everything again, that same infrastructure, friendships, bonds, as well as your business. So, yeah, it's been exciting and it's been fun as well, but a bit challenging at the same time.
So you actually, you're staying right now in UK. You want to tell a little bit about where you are? I mean, the environment, how is it like? You want to share that with us?
In the UK, during the pandemic at the moment. So we are going to more or less have most of our lifts lifted by June 21st. However, at the moment, there are a few lifts currently. So you cannot visit people at their house. You can visit them in their garden and still do social distancing. If you go to restaurants, you can dine, but in the garden or, in the outdoor setting. You can go and get a facial or get your hair done, but there's not much of a hurry to go and do it at the moment because things are still falling into place. But it's beautiful today. We have a sunny day. The place that I live in is Kent. It's called the Garden of England. So it's very green, very lush, really beautiful. Not too far from my house, they have the most amazing sunset. So you can watch it over sort of the Medway. And it feels like liquid gold. So usually my husband and I would take a walk. We both love walking. We would take a walk and just watch the sunset. It's so spectacular. And it's really lovely. There are so many things that are very different to where I'm from. For example, the public transport. There's a train every couple of minutes. The underground works really well. The buses are just fantastic. And you get into the habit or into the nature that if it's 5 minutes late, it's like, oh my God, why is it so late? But they are really amazing. They run on time. So on that level, it makes life easier to get around if you don't fancy driving into the city or things like that. So yeah, it's beautiful here, and it's really, there's a lot of heritage living in the UK. There are lots of old buildings, and it's so. I love architecture. I love old buildings, museums. So I normally would go to the National History Museum every so often to have a look, or I would
Oh,
take a wander around the city. There's always something new to see. So you can walk around the city or you can walk around somewhere, and every time you go, you would notice something new. But it's not exactly new, it's been there for hundreds of years. But it's just that it's really beautiful, and I love being here.
oh, thank you so much for that, experiencing through you, because that's why we love this segment where women across the world share where they are from, and for that few minutes we are with you where you are, and that's so wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
On a contrast, I grew up on beside the Indian Ocean.
Yeah.
So basically, it would be any time of the year, the ocean would be warm. And when I moved here, the big contrast was I would go to the ocean in summer, but the water would still be cold. So that was one big contrast. But it's something to laugh at when you look at your pictures and you think, "Oh my God, I've got coats and things going to the beach." So
Yeah, that's so interesting. Normally, beach is about getting into the sun and all of
yeah.
that, but here it's cold. Very interesting. So tell me, Melissa, you do some amazing work on intuitive healing and this manifestation coaching business work that you do. Tell us a little bit about that. What inspired to get into the work, and also what were some of the challenges you faced?
So my sister and I founded Mystic Sisters many years ago. Growing
Okay.
up, my dad would mention to me things like, "I knew you would be a tomboy," or, just random things about my personality. And I was little, and I would like to know, "How do you know?" And he said, "My father told him," like his father, because my grandfather was intuitive. And he didn't do it as a career, it was just a hobby. He was a philanthropist and humanitarian.
Right.
So it intrigued me, and all things about mystical things just intrigued me, because it was like, how can someone sense something about me and I'm not even born? So I would pick up people's hands at school and things and read their palms or tell them things. And it was just something that I felt drawn to. I love people. And strangely enough, a few weeks ago, a teacher got in touch with me on Facebook, and she said, "When you looked at my hand in school and you told me I'm going to have 3 children." And I said, "Never," because I had twins and that was enough. And 8 years later, she had a late baby. And she was like,
Did he
so
just say your teacher? Was it your
it
teacher?
was my teacher. So, and she's become a big
Okay, I'm
fan.
now dumbfounded, but anyway, go on.
So that was a little surprise, because I was young and I'd forgotten about it. But it intrigued me all through. And my sister and we had a friend, and he was setting up a market, like a Sunday market. And he said, "Can you guys come help me?" So we went along to help him. And then we dared each other to dress up and do readings. And it just spun up from there. We had, people contacting newspapers to say, "These girls are so accurate," or "They're so great," and, things. "Do you know where we can get a hold of them?" People were trying to find us. My sister was in her final year of law, and I was just starting to study. And then it just sort of happened. It was destiny. And then we started getting radio slots and radio shows. And then a few years later, we wrote a book. We self-published it, and it became a bestseller. It went into print 3 times.
Wow.
Thank you. So for
Fantastic.
us, it was actually quite an achievement, because just 2 years before we wrote the book, we were still under the apartheid regime. And you could only dream of having a book cover or a book in a front window dressing, because it wasn't, if you were a person of color, it was not going to happen. And when it happened, it was like one of the largest bookstores. We went on tour around the country, and they had our book on display, and we just couldn't believe it. It wasn't that we planned for it to happen as such. So there were so many remarkable things that came from this, but we had to just trust our intuition, trust ourselves, and just have faith. Faith is, I've got, faith like potatoes. I just have so much of faith in God, because you're not going to get where you want to be without that faith in God and your self-belief. So yeah, that it's just so I've done so many things, and then I used to do like little books journaling when I was in my teens, and I would write down things about what I wanted out of life. And when I thought about the kind of man I wanted to date, and I was young, you have these silly ideas. And I always thought, I want someone who wears nice shoes and is good with his family. And my husband that I have currently is very much. And the other thing I wanted was someone spontaneous. And the current, my husband, he is all of that. So it's so important to believe and to be aware of what you want and put it out there, because manifestation is happening. Whether you say, I don't believe in it, or I do, you're always manifesting things because you're thinking it, you're wanting it to happen. And, it's just an amazing thing.
I'm going to then, this is really, you actually told your teacher what to do. I mean, like, this is really, people who are watching this, you should rewind back if you have just stepped into the show. This woman is really magical, I have to say. So I want to ask you, you just mentioned this, and everybody talks about law of attraction and manifestation and all of that. And what is the difference between, the thoughts that we have that we don't want and we're thinking about it, and then the thoughts that we have and we want it to happen? So there is a lot of different stories or interpretation of these thoughts. Can you bring some light to this?
So basically, what I feel is that our thoughts are little seeds, right? And we leave them in our head and we water it by thinking another thought. So the more we feed it, it grows and it becomes bigger and it takes control to a point where we cannot see the wood for the trees or the trees for the wood. So it's very, very important when you're thinking something, write it down. Good thought or bad thought. If it's niggling at you and it's nagging at you, write it down. And then I normally advise my clients, in my coaching sessions, if you put a thought down like, my job, it's irritating me, draw around it, doodle around it, and then ask yourself, why is it annoying you? Why is it frustrating you? And just put words around it. And then when you have that there, you have a more clearer picture. It's words, but I can take those words and put it into action. Or can I just leave them as random words bouncing about in my head? And then this other thought is now taking over my mind. So even when you have positive thoughts of dedication and you have great traits within you, when you have that one thought controlling you, you subsequently feed it. You're not aware that you're feeding it, but you're feeding it nevertheless.
Very, very well said. And I love that tips, having it, whatever, good or bad, just get it out on paper. That is so powerful. And it's so simple, yet powerful. I can relate to that a lot in that sense. Thank you so much for that. So is there any one challenge you went through in your life that you'd like to share with us on? What was it, briefly, and how did you overcome that challenge, especially in your business?
So I think one of the challenges I went through is I was a victim of sexual abuse as a child. Okay. And it didn't happen when I was an adult. But I think from that time, I trained my mind of how to balance good from bad. And I trained my mind of how to not allow someone else's behavior to limit my beliefs or control me. So it was during that time that I embraced who I am and I embraced my situation. You are here now, you're present. This is where you are. So it was my little 7-year-old self believing this and starting to have this approach to life. And I think that has bode me really, really well in my career, that we do set limiting beliefs. Everyone sets limiting beliefs. We feed ourselves nonsense, And so for me, I think I've trained myself over the years not to do it. And, obviously there are times when I'm like a little bit anxious thinking, oh my God, am I going to get that train on time? Or will I miss my flight? Those types of things. But when it comes to making decisions, because I've instilled strong, beliefs within myself, and I've tried to move away self-limiting beliefs, that has helped me immensely.
Very nice, very nice. And what would be the one belief maybe you want to tell us in specific that we can, that always disturbs women, especially in business, and how can we overcome that?
Well, women, we are so unique. We think creatively, we think passionately, and we think we think in a
Intelligently.
way that is so rounded. We cover all areas when we're thinking about something. So what I would suggest is that do not deny who you are. If you are there with a strong man, okay, do not compare yourself to him. If you have beautiful hair, make the most of it, because that's your gift. If you speak well, utilize that, because if that man's going to go out and play golf and you're not good at golf, that's his skill. He's making his deals on the golf course. So do not compare yourself to anyone. You find what works for you, what's amazing about you, and you shine with that, because everyone is born to shine. We just don't always want to turn on our lights.
Very nice. I love what you say. Everyone is born to shine, and you just have to turn on the light.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. Thank you so much for that insight. And at this moment, I want to ask you, what message do you have for women around the world in order for them to be, uplifted, especially in this uncertain time? What do you have for everyone?
Well, I would say that we've all been in similar situations. We've all been there, starting a relationship, heartbroken, starting a business, applying for a job, applying for a loan, whatever it is, going for that haircut we hate and we say thank you. We've all been in a situation. You have to take that control over your situation, because you are unique and you are yourself. If you do not exist, your own little world does not exist. So take that control back and feel present.
Very nice. Thank you so much. Really, really, it's heartwarming to hear you and so inspirational. It feels like I want to ask you more and more questions. Will you allow that?
Go for it. Go for it.
Because because you're giving so precise. I have to say this. We're having so many conversations. Your answers are so precise, and you're just answering, and it's like no nonsense. Like, yeah, just ask a question. Now take it, and then it comes so fast. And normally, honestly, we have, it's 20 to 30 minutes. Now we've covered so many things in this short period of time, and it's not even 20 minutes yet.
Oh,
And
no.
I don't want to let go of you in less than 20 minutes at least. But really, I want to ask you, let's talk about Clubhouse.
Yeah.
You are doing amazing work on Clubhouse. And I think I met you in Clubhouse. The energy you come in with, it's just voice and the way that you can bring out. What do you think that one X factor that makes people, moderators or people who come on Clubhouse successful and visible?
I think you have to, when you become a moderator or you're hosting a room, you have to ask yourself, am I hosting a room or am I wanting to be a moderator? Those are very different things.
Good
Hosting a
one.
room, you want to allow everyone to have a space. Being a moderator, you want to have control over the room. So I actually want to host a room, and that is the approach I take, because I want everyone to feel inclusive. I want to give them a space, but I also want to have a bit of control over the room, that it doesn't go a bit weird. Because, for example, last night we were talking about inclusivity, and someone stole the room and dropped everyone down, and he took over the room and said, thank you for my room, and thank you everyone for coming here. So you have to be careful that you choose the right people. You have to have a synergy with people, and you have to ask yourself, what is my purpose for this conversation? Am I here to shine and be the only one? Am I here to shine and commit to a friendship with people? What am I looking for? So, a lot of people go on little power sort of like a power run, and they feel almost like, I'm going to do it and it belongs to me. And for me, I don't believe in that. But the other thing I've done is I've been threatened, and I've had people that were bullies, because I run rooms that are professional and successful. And I've had people trying to sort of say that I shouldn't run them all the time because they want to run it. And I try to remind them there's 10 million people on Clubhouse. Find your tribe. Do not, there's no space for competition. So with me, I go with a very open approach. I find what works for me, who I am. If I have to do something that is just a trend, but it's not who I am, I'm going to struggle. I'm going to struggle to find conversation. I'm going to struggle to run the room. I'm going to struggle to hold it because I'm trying to think so much like, what do I do next? How do I approach it? So it's so very important to first have an idea. What do you want? If you want to moderate the room, join someone else's room to moderate with them. But if you want to host the room, you've got to realize I've got to have fluidity and let myself just people will love you for just being you.
Very well said. Just be you, and everything will fall in place. Truly, yes. And do you want to share with us one of the various medium that people can reach out to you and connect with you? How do we get in touch with you?
You can get in touch with me on Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn. Just look for Melissa Malaya Pandya. But Instagram, I love Instagram. You know, it's a connection with your friends as well. So please get in touch with me on Instagram. And if you want some love on your Instagram, I'm all for Instagram. Every morning I have a cup of coffee. I scroll through posts. I like all the posts and I comment. And, you know, I'm very big on Instagram.
Yes, you are. You have about 11,000 followers, and you have some amazing posts that is all about humanity, connectivity, you know, love, and that's what, you know, really attracts all of us to be in touch with you.
Thank you so much. You're so kind.
Yes, thank you so much, Melissa. So we kind of coming to the end of the show, and as we round it off, what is your message for women in business? I know you've said a lot. What is your message for women in business?
I would say that you have to just trust your intuition. Wear your brand. The only person who can sell your brand or your business to someone is you. So you are your business card. You've got to feel it, you've got to speak it, you've got to breathe it, and then it will just be natural. People will want to deal with you because they see your personality and they'll want to feel that in your brand.
Very nice. Trust your intuition and wear your brand. That is what it is. And I'm sure you can create a very successful business and followings and people that you will be able to work with in a more effective way. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And everyone, I'm sure you had a wonderful, wonderful time listening to Melissa, her heart, her wisdom, and, you know, the way that she really takes charge of what she owns what she is. And that's the beauty of it. It shines through. So share this video with everyone and let everybody experience this shine for themselves and let them get inspired. So this is a project of Go Global Business School. And we're so happy to have Melissa with us today. And we will see you next week with another Power Women. Thank you and bye for now.